Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stay standing as we mention those in remembrance of those who have passed since our last meeting. Maria Pietek, Lydia Barrios, Joan Ellen Reed, Joy Thomas. Good evening. Roll call. Mike?
Here.
Paul?
Here.
Cassie?
Here.
Bill?
Present.
We have a full town board tonight. The fire exits are directly behind here. There's a fire escape right here. If there's any problem in the building during this meeting, this is where we go out. There's no correspondence. Petitioners' time, anyone that's on Zoom or anybody that is in the audience that wants to come and express a concern to the town, this is the time to do it, and then we could go into our business of the meeting.
Yeah, Michael McCann here from Ellenville Real Estate Holdings.
Okay?
We're still awaiting our responses to a letter of concern we had sent to Somerset at the last public hearing. We were promised a response, and we're still waiting.
Okay, is that the Honors Haven that you're...
Yes, I understand. That's correct.
Okay. So that can be addressed under the public hearing process, right? Or do you want...
No, Mike, I thought Mike Moriello sent a letter. I thought I saw a letter.
I submitted, this is Michael Moriello.
I have one right here.
I submitted that document to the board, the answers, back on February 22nd, I believe. I did not send a copy to Michael McCann. I didn't know that I was supposed to send him one directly. I submitted it to the board, but not to him directly.
You want to send one, Mike, to him, or do you want us to send it?
You guys can send it to him. It's fine with me. It's not a problem.
Okay, we can do that, sir. You'll get it tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. Do you have my email?
Let's write it down.
Sure.
Julian ready.
We're ready.
Join the meeting.
What is it?
It's Michael, Michael, at BR Consulting Global.com.
You got that, Jack?
Got it.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other petitioners? If there's no petitioners on Zoom or standing or sitting in the courtroom here, then we'll go to our...
Public hearing?
We got 2 minutes.
Yeah, we have to wait till 5 after 7
Okay.
for procedures. We can skip this first public hearing of 7:05 and just actually go through a town board number 2 on the agenda, town board to approve bills as audited.
So moved.
We have
Second.
three signatures, myself, Bill, and Cassie. So Bill makes the motion,
I second.
Paul seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion is carried. Town board to accept the minutes of the February 2nd regular and audit meeting, the February 8th budget workshop meeting, the February 16th regular and audit meeting, the February 27th workshop meeting.
I'll move 3 through 6.
Second.
Bill makes that motion, Mike seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Those motions are carried. So let's stop at number 6. We'll start with number 7. And is it 7:05?
7:04.
Just about. Another few seconds.
Okay.
You do the resolution.
Okay. Resolution, the
town board by resolution authorizes the supervisor to make an application to the state of New York for an easement over state lands to benefit residents of the town of Wawarsing within the Wawarsing Water District.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Paul makes the motion, and who seconded it?
I did.
Cassie seconded it. It's a roll call vote. Michael?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Cassie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That resolution is accepted and approved.
7:05, Terry.
And now at 7:05, we start our public hearing, a continuation of the public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive input and comments from the public regarding local law of 2023, a local law amending Chapter 112 zoning by amending Section 112-5 and 112-45 and adding Sections 112-48 to allow and provide for planned resort development Somerset. This is the time for folks in the public hearing to bring up any concerns on Zoom or in public, and we're going to take somebody that's here tonight in the courtroom. Just step up to the podium, state your name, and ask your questions.
Hi, I'm Steve Kolashvari. A couple of things, couple questions. I don't know exactly what the zoning changes are that are referenced here, and I kind of looked for them. I couldn't find them online if they have, what those are specifically. So I was just kind of wondering what those changes were. I mean, I assume it's just for the housing needs of the property, but I was kind of wondering what those were or how I could see what that is.
So our zoning ordinance, as it currently just has a floating zone where the former Neville Resort was, and it's being proposed to allow the reconstruction of a resort in a certain configuration in accordance with the plans that the developer has proposed. So there'll be a hotel component, there'll be a workforce housing component, there'll be townhomes or co-ops, and there'll be, I think, 45 individual single-family homes. Together with that, there'll be restaurants, spas, horseback riding, farming areas.
So
It's the development of that property only.
only. Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering. Is it does it only relate to that development? My other question was, and I'm probably sure there's been attention paid to the speed limit on 209 and what's anticipated to be done with the road.
So that's a state highway. The town certainly can send a letter, send a petition to the state DOT, but state DOT sets speed limits based on their traffic studies, based on accident experience. So the town has no formal say in setting speed limits on a state highway or a county highway, only on a town highway.
And that stretch of 209 is 55 miles an hour speed limit past that Neville Road there. And people are always end up going way above the speed limit when they get back down into the 45 heading south, and it turns very abruptly into 30 miles per hour going into town. So that stretch of road, in my opinion, I'm up and down all the time. There's people going too fast on there. Mr. Puccio has his store on the corner. There's a lot of times there's cars parked right there, and people are really zooming by there. And with this development, obviously we're going to get more traffic on the road. That intersection of 209 and Neville Road there is a tricky spot to begin with. It's not a straight angle. It's hard if you're if you're coming out that way and you're looking off to the right, it's hard to see the cars coming down the hill there, which are at 55 miles an hour coming down that hill. So I just wanted to bring up that possibility of I don't know if the town needs to get behind it or if there needs to be general consensus of, I'm sure that would affect a lot of people, and probably a lot of people wouldn't be too happy about changing that, but it would seem to me that something would have to be done on that road, depending if there's a lot of cars trying to turn left or going south, trying to turn left into that Neville, that you could have a line of traffic and cars coming down that hill at 55 miles an hour, waiting to make that turn. It strikes me as something that needs to be paid attention to. And then so that's one question that I would have. I don't know if there's any answer to it, but I wanted to raise it.
Well, Bill, so what I understand the question to be, and I think in the years past, that this issue has come up in the past, and I think we reached out to the DOT and requested that under a different developer in the past 10 years or so, and
Well, two things. Number one, it is strictly up to the state. We certainly
Correct.
can write a letter, and as
Yes.
a local, I understand your concerns. There's a turn there.
There's an empty truck flipped over going too fast around that turn about
But
30 years ago.
at least from the preliminary plans I've seen from the developer, I think they're changing the front entrance to the resort. I think it'll be closer to be like across the street from, say, Puccio's property. And it'll be going that way. It would not be utilizing Emily Road. That would be for employees and deliveries.
Right,
But
so
once
the
again,
other question is where, is there gonna be another road?
yeah, they're gonna have a different entranceway, as I understand it. They haven't submitted final plans. And once again, it really is up to the state. The town can write a letter.
Right.
Individuals can write a letter suggesting that maybe a reduction in speed would be warranted, but the town has no authority to change speed limit.
It is a good question, and as Bill said, depending on the design of the layout, could be changed from the present way it is now. And then, but again, that goes in front of the planning board. The planning board, during public hearings for that process, it could be brought up then, and then it also could be brought up by the town board. Correct?
We can send a letter to the state DOT is the best we can do.
Yeah.
Well, and I just point out that stretch of 45 that goes by my road, Yaffe Road there, it's kind of hard to tell why that's 45 and the other is 55. And the only reason I can think is that there's more houses kind of right on that stretch of the road. But now there's going to be more, not necessarily houses on the road, more people living and coming up, in and out of 209 on that, on that part of the road. The other thing I wanted to ask about is the ATV festival that goes on the Neville property every Sunday. And I assume that at some point something's going to be done to stop that, since it's private property. And I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but it's probably something that's been brought to your attention.
Well, the property is not currently owned by the developer, and I know what you're speaking of, so I've seen dozens, if not more than several dozens of ATVs there on the weekend. I suspect that when and if the developer buys the property, they'll put a halt to it because it's clearly trespass.
Right.
But the town has no jurisdiction. State police or sheriff could be called in, but would have to be called in by the property owner, who is currently, I'm going to say, a bank or a financial institution.
So if this moves forward, when do you think that status would change?
I would imagine if the developer buys the property, they would put up the appropriate signs and stop the ATV festival.
What's the timeline that is expected on
We
that?
have no control over that. I don't know.
It's all up to this.
Hopefully shortly.
It's partners. Yeah.
It's tomorrow.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So on the Zoom, we do have the Somerset partners, and a number of them. And thank you for being on the meeting, attending this tonight. Any other concerns from the public? Anything on Zoom? Anything that Somerset wants to say? Or if not, we will.
Well, I would suggest when we're done with public comments, if there are any more, that we close the public portion of the public hearing. But I would suggest maybe we allow a week, so 4 p.m. Next Thursday for the submission of any written materials by anybody who wants to submit anything in writing. We'll consider it in the deliberations. I think a week would be appropriate, and a sufficient amount of time.
I think Mr. Marielli wants to say something.
But I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom that
Yeah,
wants
he
to.
took his,
There's half a dozen people on Zoom if you want to speak.
Mr. Monteleone, do you want to speak? Because it looks like you took off your.
Mike Moriello.
Oh, Mike Moriello. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor and board members, thank you for hearing this tonight. We have just a couple of submittals that went in. We did provide an extensive address of the Honors Haven questions. What we tried to do was go through every question that they had raised and then related the vast majority of those questions were good questions and are referred to by us as to pages within the negative declaration under seeker. As you know, your document is very comprehensive with the environmental review of the project, and many of the questions were environmentally related. So we tried to answer those questions and refer to exact places in the neg deck where those answers can be found. With respect to the questions relating to site plan, specifically questions like utilities and things like that, that site plan process is ongoing. We did answer those questions to the extent necessary now, but there will continue to be, as I said at the last meeting, and I would just let the public know too, there'll continue to be public hearings before the planning board on the site plan and the subdivision, and continuing review administratively before that board. It will also require another referral to the Ulster County Planning Board on the subdivision and the site plan. The second document that we submitted was a response to the Ulster County Planning Board recommendations, many of which we agreed with and thought were good comments. We were especially happy that the Ulster County Planning Board liked the idea of providing the workforce housing and supported the trail interconnection that the town board has been working so diligently on since the project was submitted. We've offered also some slight revisions to the zoning amendment itself. Chris Round had provided those to the board and also provided them to Jonathan Lockman. Jonathan is for the public, Jonathan is the planner for the planning board, and he had raised several issues that he wanted addressed. Chris has answered those and placed that document before the town board also. With respect to my submittal on the Ulster County Planning Board, we've asked for only, of all the required modifications that Dennis Doyle and the Planning Board raised, we've asked for 3 overrules by a majority plus 1 vote of this board, and that they refer to, you've seen my document, but for the public, they are with respect to mandated phasing and affordability in terms of housing and timing, sustainability practices, not all of them. We have no problem with EV charging stations and things like that, but we did specifically note that that the flex code is impractical and unworkable at this point for people to implement. So we stayed away from, I'm sorry, I misspoke, the stretch code. From the stretch code, and we've asked for an overrule on that. And once again, like I said, there was one other required recommendation, which is the timing of the building of the improvements, which I basically don't think that's the Ulster County Planning Board trying to micromanage the business affairs of my client. That really is not a planning function at the county level, but we asked for an overrule there too. But that's the only 3 areas. The one other issue that came up with Jonathan that I do think merits mentioning is that we have, there's proposed guidelines in the zoning law for the type of building that would go on at the premises. Jonathan had suggested that those guidelines be requirements. We don't feel that that is very flexible at all. the whole purpose of this is to provide a flexibility in the approach to development of the project within the parameters of the total unit count and other specifics that are very specifically required under zoning. So we just noted that we wanted to stick to guidelines instead of standards in terms of that supplement to the zoning regulations. Other than that, there's been very few changes. I don't know if Chris wants to note anything else, but Chris did submit his document. If he wants to say anything else, that's it for me.
Chris, how about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think Mike touched on everything. Just maybe one point of clarification is that certain of the requests of Jonathan and or the planning board can and are proposed to be rolled in to a development agreement. And so that would be a binding agreement between the developer and the town, which would articulate phasing, sequence of buildings, any affordability thresholds that we might establish for the workforce housing. So those things, we're not trying to skirt those things. We're trying to address those at the appropriate time when the development program's, formalized. So for that.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Nope.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody that's here for the meeting, public hearing that attended in the courtroom and people on Zoom. Thank you to...
Hey, it's Supervisor Michael Bill, does the board customarily take a vote to close the public hearing and hold it open for a week, or they?
Yes, that's what, yeah.
Next thing would be a vote to close, and I don't know if you want to follow my suggestion to keep
Yeah,
open
1
the
week.
submission of written, whether it's hand-delivered, overnighted, regular mailed, or emailed, but we need to receive it by 4 p.m. next Thursday, which is the 9th. It's got to be a deadline, otherwise, we'll never get this process closed.
So what I'm gonna do is ask for a motion for what you just said.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
So that's Paul making a motion, Mike seconding it. It's a roll call vote. It was Mike.
Let's just move on.
Aye.
It's just a motion?
Just a motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
And I make a motion to close the public hearing.
That is,
That is the motion. All right, Rich.
okay.
Nice seeing you. Mr. Cantonese, have a good one. Mrs. Cantonese, have a
Thank
good
you
one.
to the board.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your leadership
Ciao, ciao.
there.
Nothing more, huh?
And Michael, we'll make sure that the honor saving gets that I'm sorry, I thought you were on email chain with it.
My apologies too to the board and to Michael McCann. I just didn't think to send it to Michael. I thought he was in contact with the board previously, so that I should have just sent it to him. My mistake on that.
Why don't you send it to him? Mike Moriello, why don't you send it to him and we'll make sure it gets sent on our end tomorrow too.
I don't have anybody in the office tomorrow.
Okay, we'll make sure, I'll make sure it gets done tomorrow.
Okay, very.
I have it right here, so he'll get it.
Thank you guys. Thanks to the board.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Number seven, town board to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement between the town of Wawarsing and Lift Tech for the 2023 third-party witnessing proposal. The scope of the work performed will include and be limited to an annual elevator inspection. The cost for the service is $425.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is carried. Bill makes the motion, Cassie seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
And again, it's carried. Number 9, town board to approve the payment.
Number 8, you missed 8.
Okay. Town board to approve the payment of invoice number 17-1358-37 in the amount of $28,554.64 to Delaware Engineering DPC for the Town of Wawarsing Highway Garage.
So moved.
Second.
Meg makes a motion, Bill seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion's
Aye.
carried. Town board to approve the payment of 124 hours of remaining vacation hours credited to Cynthia Schmalzy, credited as of January 1st, 2023 for the calendar year of 2023, Her hourly rate of pay was $22.91, totaling an amount of $2,840.84.
So moved.
Second.
Mike makes a motion, Paul seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
That motion is carried. Town Board to approve the payment for 2023 National Fire Protection Association in the amount of $175.
So moved.
Mike makes a motion, Bill seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Number 11, Town Board to approve the payment application number 6 in the amount of $181,214.60 to Amity Construction Corp. for the Wawarsing Water District Individual Service Connections, Local Roads, WWD-bid-11.
So moved.
Cassie makes the motion, Paul seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Town Board to approve the purchase of a 40-foot storage container from Arthur Trolday and Sons, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $11,500 for the Napanock Sewer District.
So moved.
Second.
Ashley makes the motion,
Paul second.
Paul seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Number 13, Town Board to authorize the supervisor to execute the intermunicipal agreement for the emergency shelter between the Town of Wawarsing and the Village of Ellenville.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank God.
Thank God.
What was we just did?
So moved. Thank God.
Okay, so Mike made the motion and Bill seconded it?
Yep.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
You got that, Chris? A shared agreement on the shelter.
This is, go ahead, next.
Okay, under your concerns, we can all talk. Number 14, Town Board to appoint Walter Evans to an unexpired term of Wawarsing's Town Zoning Board of Appeals. His term will expire on December 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Bill makes a motion, Mike seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. I think we might have an additional one, Paul?
I was going to do it during my concerns, but
Go ahead.
you want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a motion for the town board to authorize the supervisor to sign the broadband funding and development agreement between the town and Archtop Fiber LLC. And just a clarification for everyone, this basically allows the town of Wawarsing to join a very growing list of towns in Ulster County to be basically welcoming competition for the current broadband provider and to be bringing fiber optic broadband and telephone service to Ulster County.
It's a non-binding agreement.
That's correct.
What's that?
And can be terminated at any time. That is true.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
So, Paul makes the motion?
No, Cassie did.
Cassie made the motion.
I made the motion.
You read it, you
Yes,
make it.
I made the
So it's
motion.
Mike and, okay.
Paul makes the motion, Cassie seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion's carried.
Okay.
Get it written out?
Yes, I do. And I'll give that.
Send that up in duplicate to the
Yes.
Legible.
Is there any others?
That's it, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so I think the first guy that talks is Tony Hayes.
I was gonna talk about a lot tonight, but my feelings ain't very good right now.
No?
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm really not,
Okay.
okay?
Councilman Bill Brown.
Hey, William.
Today there was some test holes dug at the site of the new highway garage, and the preliminary thoughts are pretty promising, but we have nothing official yet as to the extent of work that's going to have to be done for the excavation of the new garage. Accounting, the payroll clerk applications are due back on Monday, and then we can do interviews and hopefully get someone on board. Nasari and the rec department has a scavenger hunt planned for later on this month.
March 11th, 11 in the
Yeah,
morning.
March 11th.
And on March 8th, we're going to be having our first rec department meeting with our new rec department person and the committee. And the shared agreement is hopefully a step in the right direction, and all of us working together between the town and the village to make things happen. And I'm very happy to see that we have our first shared agreement.
But we need to get it over to the village sign so that they can sign it.
Yes, I have to
don't know
sign
if they've
it.
approved
I have to sign it, and then they have to sign it.
Would you like me to deliver it tomorrow?
Right? It's a long way, but you think you can get there?
That's all I have.
All righty. Cassie Swore.
Okay. As Bill said, they're doing the scavenger hunt on March 11th from 11 to 1. Reach out to Nosari in the rec department if you would like your family to participate in that. It's going to be a fun time. To all of our young people that want to work for the town this summer, we're doing a jobs fair for the camp on March 17th and the high school lobby from 10 to 1. Stop by and get an application and ask questions if you have them. We have the final bid opening for the Wawarsing Water District is for the electrical package, and it is on the 8th, and hopefully that will go off without a hitch. And we're moving along with the connections. The weather up until recently had been cooperating beautifully, so we're a little ahead of schedule. The substantial completion is looking for June?
Substantial completion date is agreed on June 30th.
June 30th. So we are winding this project up, and I'm very excited about that. One of the pieces of the puzzle was the easement we just approved with in tonight's meeting. So we'll have permanent access to the wells that are in the solar field. The cameras are in place up there for protection, so that part of the package is done. This is really coming together quite nicely. And I want to thank Tony and his guys for salting the roads and clearing snow the other day. It was greatly appreciated, and I don't ever want you to think you're not appreciated. We appreciate you every time I drive my car. Thank you, Tony. And that's all I have
I got a
tonight.
question for you. What are we doing about the summer program? I hear you're going out for the school, for the pool and stuff right now, summer help.
Well, do you want me to get applications for you too? Because
I
you usually have guys in mind.
Pardon?
You usually have guys in mind, so.
We always go out for it.
No, we take applications.
Especially after last year.
Yeah.
Last time we did it, we didn't get very many people, and you could put 4 weeks on it to get back.
So that's
April's gonna be around the corner.
Yeah.
Put it up.
so that's starting in April or June? July.
But I want to get some people.
You have a question?
I don't say anything.
Okay, so it's now June.
I'm just
It's
thinking
March
about it.
2nd, so we have to have these people in place by like July 1st. So I think we have time.
Well, we need to be before then because they need training. They'll be
No, I know,
training in June.
I know.
And the job fair is really just an information center. It's not like and they can take an application away if they want. And when we post it, they'll submit them. So, but it's
The sooner the better.
the sooner
Yes.
the better.
Yeah, just like to give more of an
Instead of
opportunity.
waiting till last
you know what I
minute.
mean?
Yeah.
We don't have
Last
to
minute.
put them on the payroll until.
I know that the recreation director is working on the list of people that had worked last year. She has names, and she's reaching out to the people. And officially, we'll obviously have to do what we do every year as far as getting the proper amount of employees to handle the number of students that we have. We've had people signing up on Camp Brain, and in the state, I don't know exactly how many.
75 the last time I checked, but it's been a week. So
So for 1 week, we've gotten 75 people that have already applied and paid or partially paid for.
Yeah, actually,
for their
Desari
children.
this afternoon says we're over 100.
oh, good. So
There's over 100 that are actually signed
100
up.
kids ready to go.
So we're a third of the way to 300, so that's a pretty good thing, I think.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
I'm good. Thank you.
Paul Tozolino.
Well, I thank the board for accepting and passing that motion for the agreement between Archtop Fiber and the town. I'm excited about this opportunity. I think it's important for competition to basically be available for the residents of the town as far as broadband services go. And I've talked to the people from Archtop several times already. There's a big commitment on their part to focus on taking care of the unserved members of the community, as well as being a viable, actually a very strong competition for the current technology that is there. I think it's a service that's going to provide the town well into the future as far as broadband communications go. And the one other thing, we very successfully, I think, implemented tax collection via credit card, debit card, or e-checks this past tax season. Robin was kind of the trailblazer at the town. The next thing that we're working on, I'm working with Jackie and the clerk's office to bring the same kind of services to the transfer station, and hopefully opening up to some of the other services that we have, such as water and sewer bills. So the pilot basically was the tax department. All indications are that it went very well, according to Robin, and I look forward to helping us expand those services out to the rest of the areas in the community where there are fees or other costs involved with respect to town services. And that's really all I've got for today.
We're not eating fish this weekend.
Oh, you're right. Don't forget the fish. Don't forget the fish fry at St. Mary and St. Andrew Church. Starts at 4:00 on Friday, goes till 7. It's posted on the town's Facebook page. It's also on Channel 23. The details. They ask if you can to please make a reservation and call to put your order in. It was very successful last week. Hopefully, weather permitting, this Friday, it's going to be continue to be a success. It's a big fundraiser for the food pantry and also for some youth activities that the church puts on. So it's very much appreciated from the church that the community participates in this. And now that's all I have.
Mike Moschetta.
As Bill said earlier about the test diggings today at the highway department, of course, until we get an official writing in it about it, looks like it's going to be going in a positive direction, which is great. The only other thing I have tonight to talk about is this wonderful thing called the intermunicipal agreement. This is a big step. It's a great step going forward. Thank this board, thank the village board, thank you, Terry, Mayor Jeff Kaplan, our attorneys, everybody was involved to finally get this thing out and get it signed and put into action so we can form a committee in the emergency shelter and get that building up and running for what it was planned to be used for from day one. It's a long time coming. We got this behind us. This is not the end of it. This is just the start. This is the beginning. And it's amazing what communication and paperwork can do for both entities. Let's keep going forward in this positive way. That's all I have for this evening.
Right, and that took a long time, but again, there has to be a legal foundation for any kind of agreement. And I thank Bill Kyer for coming up with the official language. We had a couple submissions prior to that, but it's over, and we established, now we have to have that committee to establish the operations, I believe, right?
Establish the operations, get it loaded up, stocked up, ready for hopefully never to be used. Let's think that way. If we have to use it, though, it'll be there for us. But once a committee is established, then they will take it from there, and the Red Cross gets involved, and just keep going forward.
I think Brian has a list of supplies that we needed to get.
Yeah, but now we can probably move on it because we have an agreement.
Yeah.
Once it's signed, and we can move forward and get it going.
Is that it?
That's all I have, sir. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
What more could you ask for?
That was a pretty good beginning of it. It's an important.
We should have a little bit of celebration dinner. Maybe you and Jeff can buy dinner for us.
I think think it took me like 4 dinners on him. I think he owes us. But, so, that's good that that's happening. The recreation program, all the board members are working with Nasari in different facets. We've got our labor attorney who actually taught a recreation camp class at Associations of Towns, has shared her knowledge of organizational procedures, comparing them with the previous ones that we had and the ones that we will have, which are going to be up to present day compliance situations, which we thank Bill Kyer all the time for the legalese of this, and we also thank, in this case, our labor attorney, who would, in this case, be a principal person in describing what is needed for these type of endeavors or these programs. These programs are important, but you also have, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that it's just not kids going to the school and having a good time, and it's a lot of work. And everybody that's involved, we thank everybody for that. The Elma School, Lisa Wild called me the other day and said March 21st is a Superintendent's Wellness Day. The town is going to be going over there. I think Bill, myself, and Nasari are going to go. She's going to present to the teachers or to the staff over there, because it's not an actual student day. Our program and what we are going to offer to the community. Do you have any questions for that? Chris? No?
I don't know about this. I haven't heard about it.
Okay, yeah, well, I just got the call yesterday from Lisa, and it's a wellness day. I believe that there's no school on that day, and so
It's like a superintendent's conference day, only it's based on wellness. Like we had one last year. It was really good. It was one of the best superintendent training days that I had at the school. It was really
again
teamwork and everything else. I mean, they did a lot of different things there. Bingo, awesome. It really got people coming together, and it was something that was interesting. Not your
typical classes where you
annual mandatory stuff.
Right, it's kind of team building type of thing.
Yeah, it was very good.
So that's that, and the highway garage. This project has been going on for many, many, many years. I believe almost 10 years. The building's from 1972, and the existing building, the town board, not this exact town board, but within the last year or and a half or whatever, the town board members that were there have decided that this project has to get done for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons is the equipment and the vehicles. Yep. There's nowhere to put the vehicles in safe places that are covered up. There's just leaving them out in the elements is not a good thing, because it ages those vehicles and equipment a lot faster. So it's really important to protect your assets, and the actual existing garage, it doesn't have enough space to begin with, because over the years we've sort of, between the town board and the highway superintendent, we've bought trucks when they needed to be replaced. We replaced them, and we've increased our fleet. We've had 2 trucks bucket trucks for trees now. We only had 1 in the past. So there's a lot of reasons that the project has to go forward, because it's just not operable anymore. About a year ago, we had public hearings, and we had 3 open houses where the public came down and looked at the existing garage, and they could see, the foundations and the need for the property to be, the project to be developed. If somebody says that, why don't we just fix the existing garage? I would say, well, you'd have to think about where you're gonna work then, because if you fix the existing garage, it's pretty hard to do without closing it down.
You'd have to close it, that's what we were told.
Yeah, so
Nobody in the building.
so that's next to an impossible task to do that. So if anybody's thinking about that, that's really not, I think you should think about where the employees are gonna work and how they're going to get around and protect the town roads. It's a very,
What bothers me, the whole thing, this has been going on since 2005. 2005. Why didn't they do that 10 years ago? And every time you bring it up, I agitated here. I spent a lot of time getting charade property. We could have bought that for $3 million. All of a sudden, they sold to somebody else because they had money right available. Now they since moved on, and this other place bought it for 10 or 14 million for right here. We could have had the place for $3 million, building up and everything. And here we are. Who do I blame? I blame us, the town boards. I blame the public, because they go buy it every day. They go buy all kinds of other stuff that they don't need. I'm upset about this whole thing.
well, at the end of the day, I think what we discussed was.
We're trying to save money.
I think the initial numbers that were played out, they're not exact numbers, so don't take that as an exact number, but I think the project, as the way it was initially formatted in these public hearings, that it could be $7-8 million. We had to have contingency in there. It was a $9 million bond resolution that we did, and then we had to, there was 4 phases of the project: plumbing, electrical, site, and construction. And 3 out of the 4 were right on the money. The
Yes.
4th one, which is the site, which we talked about a number of times. This isn't the first time we had a conversation here. When the salt shed was done, there was a question about, which is similar to the question that we have now, was could you put, the process of putting the salt shed on the ground that it lays on. And there was questions about whether you had to excavate it X number of feet and whatever. And the engineers came down and decided that they didn't have to. And this is almost the exact same scenario. Today, they dug 5 test holes,
12 feet deep.
12 feet deep, and we're not gonna say right now, because they don't have the exact final results, but from what they were saying, it looks very likely that it's a similar situation as the salt shed.
Yep.
So, again, Mr. Pay says he's a little upset, and I think a lot of the board members have put a lot of time and effort into this. And when we see an article in the paper that says highway garage to cost $2 more million, it's kind of not exactly, it's probably maybe not exactly accurate. So when you should, the article itself, I think, was pretty well written, but when you have a conversation and to attract somebody's attention, if it turns out that it's 200,000, then I don't think that's real. I think that's a little inappropriate. I don't know what the adjective would be, but it should be a little more concentration, a little more, and we're not asking, for anything other than transparency. We've given all the transparency. The previous conversation we had in the last meeting was about why we had a meeting on a Monday night, for a special meeting. Well, the reason was because there was a 45-day time frame to allow to award the bids, right, Mr. Collier?
For the contractors to honor what they did.
Yeah, for the contractors to honor what they
For
did.
that obligation.
Right, so that's why we had to have the meeting 3 days before the Thursday meeting, and I don't think that was really explained too much in the public or in the newspaper. And that's a very big point to be made. So, some of the frustration is, obviously there's a procedure, there's a way to do this. And again, Mr. Pace has talked about so many years that it's been happening. But again, the building is, anybody wants to take a drive down there, be careful, and if you want to go and take a look, do it. But the building is from 1972.
Bad shape.
And it's in bad shape. And we don't want to get to a situation where it gets to be an unsafe situation because our employees are there every day.
Right now, we've got one door that don't work. One goes halfway up. $3,000 just to replace some parts.
Well, when you kick the can down the road for so many years, it's only a matter of time before the can is rusted and you can't kick it anymore. And we're at that point now. It's been put off for all these years, and now it needs to be fixed.
So the $75 or so that was thrown out there by the, by the people that are working the numbers, the additional money, I would think even if it was, the extra money that was even quoted in the paper, which might not be accurate, it would probably be another $25. So at the end of the day, there's, over the years, like 3-4 years ago, we relined the Kerhonkson water lines. Okay, it was an $8 million project. 6 of it was grants, it was $2 million, but then again, it was a smaller group of people paying it because it was Kerhonkson. But it did impact the people that lived in Kerhonkson. It didn't impact the people in Ellenville, didn't impact the people in Christmore, because it was a Kerhonkson project. And I think, that was a 50-year project. The lines hadn't been done in 50 years. I just saw today an article, I don't know if it was written by Chris Rowley or whatever, but it was an online version of the Ellenville water. I had a picture of the water district, and it's a good article, I read it, and it's really a needed, when you're talking about infrastructure, that is the heartbeat of the community. I mean, that is something that has to get done. And I personally think that the village board and the village government has a charge to do that, to make sure that their infrastructure works properly, and that's all we're trying to do as far as the town. We have Kerhonkson, we have a water and sewer district, we got Wawarsing, which it's going to be online this year. We got the Mappanack water and sewer, and we have projects like these water lines, and we have other things. So at the end of the day, people can have a conversation about, well, I think as a board member, you should increase the taxes every year a little bit. Well, this board has done for the last 5 years was very little, next to hardly any tax increase. So I know no one likes to pay taxes, but you do want your town roads, cleared so you can get to work, or so you can drive on them and enjoy the roads. And you also want to be able to, have roads to be safe on.
Yeah, it bothers me with these engineers. They put a water line into the water tank, right down to where. Everybody told them at the same time, where's the electric on? I mean, you got an open ditch, you could have went another 4 feet on the other side, put the line down, all at one time. Then they come down, they hook the water up to the town barn. They know possibly they're going to put a building there. The way they hook it up, goes right under the new building, if it goes up. Now you got to run a water line 400 feet all around this building to put it up. When the engineers put up the 2 new buildings, they come off 209, which is 100 feet away.
So we're doing extra homework to actually make that work.
Yeah.
We had a meeting.
It's sad.
We had a meeting yesterday, but that's something that a lot of people don't understand what we're doing here, but we have obstacles in the way, and we're here to make the obstacles go away and try to protect the community. So I don't know if any other board members have any comments, but if you don't, then we'll go to the accounting. Who mentioned we got applications back? I think we got 6 or 7. Okay, so that would be for this personnel assistant? Yeah, so,
like 15.
okay. And how about the OSI, Open Space Institute? I wasn't at that meeting, you were, right?
All right. The last meeting I had with her,
This is the Open Space Institute, and we're talking about
the rail trail.
the rail trail from the Wawarsing side of the Ellenville sewer plant to the Bennett property before the Eastern Correctional Facility. That was the meeting, right?
There's possibly 60 trees we have to take down, and they want to help do some work on that trail. But there's one big problem there. we put that trailer in there, which is great, nothing's rodent. Just beyond south, there's water coming down off Burn Road, down through people's property. We have a 3-foot pipe there now, and it's plugged up. I said, we want to put a box culvert where the trailer is. I said, what are you gonna do about this mess? Now they gotta do some engineering. You can't go on other people's property and just, we're gonna go up the bank and clean the bank up. And that's where most of the water comes. So I don't know what she's gonna do about that.
Yeah, so this is the Open Space Institute, Bob Anderman's group of people, and they're doing these projects for free. They're the people that are making this 7-mile carriage trail from Minnewaska down to the front of the top of the pavilion of the Burn Road Park.
Yep.
So, we gotta thank them a lot for that, because we're not paying for it.
So they're getting ARPA money and
Yeah.
they're doing it for the town.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, it's not costing the taxpayers a penny in direct out of the town budget.
Closing Town of Wawarsing.
Right. It's not, it's not something that's coming out of our budget. It's coming out of their pocket, but it's not coming out of their pocket from our town budget. The trees, again, like Tony's saying, the highway guys, they're out there protecting your roads like they're gonna be tomorrow night, and they were earlier this week. And in the long run, they're also assisting with shared services with OSI on this rail trail. So there's a lot of things that they're asked to do that a lot of times the typical average person that doesn't follow this stuff are not aware of, and they should be commended for that. Because it happens, it doesn't just happen once in a while, it happens a lot. So, anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, so at this time, we had a good public hearing tonight with Somerset Partners, and hopefully they buy the property in a very short order and get rolling on demolishing the property, the buildings on the property. And I gotta say, Mr. Moriello is pretty good at what he's doing, right, Bill?
Yeah, best in the county.
He's the best in the county. These guys are from the Bronx, and they picked a good guy in Mike Moriello's Kingston Law Office. So this time I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mike makes the motion to adjourn. Who seconds?
So remind me tomorrow.
Somebody gonna second it?
I'll second it.
Oh, you want to stay all night?
They don't want to second it, I guess we are.
I think it was Cassie that seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night.